So welcome everybody. Today is our first module of Learn One Shopping Cart Bootcamp. So thank you all for being here, whether you're live or listening to the recording. Again, a big thank you. So we're going to just jump in and talk about the agenda. And then today is really going to be talking about structuring your packages. Now I know that you don't know all the ins and outs yet of One Shopping Cart, but I want to talk to you about this first. So as you go through and start learning the program, you can actually think about, okay, well, how am I going to use this and how am I going to package this in my business? Because what I'd love to see people do, especially VAs, is get away from trading dollars for hours. So instead of packaging or instead of trading time for money, sell your expertise, which you can earn more with. So that's kind of the thought process for today. So here's our agenda. We're going to start with just some housekeeping. See if anybody has any questions, make sure everybody understands how to access all the goodies that are part of this program. And then we're going to talk about structuring your packages. Again, this is just kind of food for thought, and we're going to circle back around and talk about this again after we've gone through all the bells and whistles of One Shopping Cart. But this is for you to kind of sketch out in your mind what you think you'd like to do. Define the processes, set up your templates and tools. We'll have our Q&A, and then we'll have our homework. So every bootcamp that I teach includes homework. Now, the homework you don't have to do, but I do recommend that you do it because what it's going to allow you to do is really solidify what you're learning in each of these separate modules. You do have access to the sandbox, which I will make sure that all that information is updated in the library for you. We have had to change the password, so I'll just make sure that that's been updated. But the homework isn't something I need to see, but I do really recommend that you take the time to do it. Even if you have to schedule a few minutes every day, because I know we're all busy, but it will really help solidify what you're learning. So real quick, the housekeeping. So everybody understands how things are going to kind of move forward. Once you've registered for GoToWebinar, you don't need to do that again. That is kind of a one-time thing. You will get reminders from GoToWebinar, and you're supposed to get them an hour before, but depending on how busy GoToWebinar is, you may get them after the class starts. So my recommendation to you is go ahead and add it to your calendar so you'll be prompted before the course starts to be able to, be here and be ready, so to speak. For those of you who are not planning on being live, which I know there are several of you, which is fine, you don't need to register for GoToWebinar, so you don't even need to do that step. There is a schedule page. So when you signed up, unfortunately, there was some confusion with the information that you got. So my apologies for that. It's been fixed. But what will happen is every time there is a recording or any type of resource available to you, we'll send you an email. And that will include the links to the schedule and the library pages. And those pages are password protected, so hold those close to the vest. But the schedule page has the GoToWebinar link in case you do decide you want to come live. You'll have to go through and register for that. And then the library page is where you're going to find all your goodies, the recordings, the resources, your homework, all of that kind of stuff is posted there. And so we're not going to send you individually the recordings. They're going to be on the page for you to download that information. So everything on the library page is yours to keep. So you want to make sure that you get that downloaded. Now, just kind of a note to you, as every time I teach a course, I update the documents because I find new things or I want to change some things. And One Shopping Cart has gone through some changes since I last taught this, so I need to make some updates. And the reason I tell you that is because if you download the documents now, you'll probably have to re-download them in a few weeks because I'm going to change them. So keep that in mind. Remember, everything in there is yours to keep. There is no expiration on any of those items. We also have a private Facebook group that is just for students of this course. Now, this private Facebook group is full of students that have already gone through One Shopping Cart. This is a great place to go for support, motivation, Q&A. I check it, I try to check in daily. If you want to be part of that, there is a link in the library for you to join. You'll have to ask to be joined, and then we'll make sure that you are a student and we'll add you to that Facebook group, and then you can pop in and say hello and introduce yourself. As I mentioned, we also have the practice sandbox, which you have a full working One Shopping Cart sandbox that you can play in. So instead of playing in somebody else's sandbox, you get to play in this one. If you break something, it's not a big deal. The only thing that's not live in the sandbox is there's no payment gateway for obvious reasons, right? I'm not going to put my payment information in there when I'm giving public access to this information. So everything in there works except for the payment thing. So you're not going to see any processing of orders only because, once again, that payment isn't there. Any issues or questions, you can reach out to us at help@techiementor.com. Now, also, just a side note, you have access to the One Shopping Cart Sandbox for the course of this boot camp. So for the next 9 weeks, you have access to that. So I really suggest you find time to play, because after the Q&A call is over, then the access is no longer. So it's only for the time of the boot camp. Okay. All right, so grab a pen and paper and let's go ahead and get started. Always, if you have any questions, feel free to pop in and ask those as we go through this module. You don't have to wait to the end. You can ask as we go. For those of you listening to this recording, you'll need to reach out to us at help@techiementor.com. And Mary, I see you have your hand raised. I don't know if you have a question or not, but if you do, if you could type it in the questions panel there at the bottom, that would be awesome. All right, so let's get started. All right, now some of the stuff we went through in the free webinar I did yesterday, so it's going to be a little repetitive, but I'm going to do a deeper dive today than I did yesterday. So with that in mind, these are the 3 different types of packages. Now realize you always have the ability to customize packages for any clients that want to do that. But what I found is a lot of clients need management and support. And what I mean is they need monthly management. They need you to go in and send out a broadcast email. They need you to add a product. They need you to add an autoresponder or a coupon code. They need something to be done within their shopping cart on a monthly basis. So if nothing else, that would be a great starting point for you. So after this course and during, over the next 9 weeks that we're together, I would recommend looking at putting together what I would call a management and support package, because that one you could start off with right away. The setup, from start to finish might be a little more difficult just based on your knowledge, but you could definitely get there. And then same thing with kind of your custom as well. Once again, anytime you do packaging, whether you're packaging One Shopping Cart or WordPress or Infusionsoft or any of those other tools, you need to make sure that you include your package details. What exactly are they getting and for how much? And you should also talk about, when you can deliver that. So package details, any a la carte items, and also fixed prices. So what this allows you to do is just have a package. So you're not talking, okay, well, how long does it take you to get it done? Because you're not going to have to track time, because you're selling your expertise and not your time. And just kind of on a side note, for those of you who already have clients who are used to buying buckets of your time, it might be kind of a mindset change for them to realize that you're no longer selling your time, but you're selling your expertise. And sometimes it's easy for clients that have been with you for a while to get that. Other times it's not. So what I'm saying is you could actually start taking on new clients with saying, okay, I don't do hourly anymore. I just do packages, which a lot of VAs are going to. Okay. So what's included? Now, as I mentioned in the webinar yesterday, we're going to go soup to nuts. We're going to do everything that One Shopping Cart does. That's why it's such a long class, because there's just so much to it. And what's included in your package? You could do affiliates. You could do a storefront. Remember, a storefront is a hosted storefront. So if they sell, candles or T-shirts or something like that, they could have a hosted storefront. Shipping, right? If you're going to ship a tangible item, a coffee mug, a candle, that's going to cost you some money, right? And you also have to tell the system where you will ship to, because you don't have to ship to every country. You can just be, maybe it's just the US and Canada, for instance, or maybe it's just Mexico. Taxes, right? If you're going to set up taxes and it all depends on what you're selling and where you're selling it. And web forms, which are opt-in forms that you can put on a website. And again, always important to put the number of whatever it is, up to 10, up to 5, up to 8. I wouldn't put the exact, I would put up to, or no more than. So I've kind of come up with some simple ones here. I have a starter, a basic, and a professional package. Now these items right here are for a complete setup. So as you get more advanced in your knowledge of One Shopping Cart, you can start offering these type of packages. As I mentioned in the webinar, my professional package a few years ago was $1,000, and it included specific items that they got, and it was pretty much set up for them soup to nuts. And then basically I gave them a checklist that kind of shows how their system is set up, and I gave them some additional training on how to send out a broadcast or how to add a product, just so they could understand what they needed to know. All right, so here is a starter package. So this would be kind of like the people who are, yeah, I don't need all of one shopping cart. Maybe I only need a couple of things. This is what I would call the starter package. So they don't get all the bells and whistles, but they get enough to get what they need to start using the program. With every package I sell, I always do a planning session. And the planning session is what allows you to understand what it is that they're doing, right? What is it that they actually need the package to do? And it also helps you kind of walk them through asking them questions that they may not know that they need to provide you. See, a lot of times people buy into technology and they really don't know what it does, or they really don't know all the information that goes into setting it up. So this planning session would allow you to have a checklist where you need to ask them exactly what you need to set up the package that you sold. For instance, this starter package, I would have questions just relative to this package. And then if I had a professional package or a middle of the road package, each package would have its own specific questionnaire because they are implementing different things. You could have one big one and scale it down or however you want. Now, I obviously have given you some documents that'll be in the library for you to grab that will have all of these different things in it, so you can get some ideas that you're free to take what I've done and make it your own. So I have the planning session, and by the way, the planning session isn't something they pay for. It's part of the package. Okay, so it's built in the price of the package. And then what I'm going to do is set up. So I'll import a contact list, let's say from Aweber, right? And that's a pretty simple thing, but it could be from Aweber or MailChimp. I'll set up a payment gateway. That's how you get paid. PayPal, maybe you have a merchant account, that kind of stuff. I'll configure it. And what I mean by configure it is there's all these different things you have to ask. Like, for instance, do you want to be able to enter coupon codes? Are you going to have taxes? Are you going to have shipping? Do you have an in-user license agreement that they need to accept before they purchase? I mean, there's all these different questions that you need answered in order to set up the shopping cart. Okay. And you also have to realize that there are different versions of One Shopping Cart on the market. I've had One Shopping Cart for 3-4 years. So my personal One Shopping Cart that I use for my business is different than the shopping cart sandbox that you have. My version doesn't have a storefront, which is fine. I don't need it. The one that you will play in does. So my point is each client may have a little different look and feel to their shopping cart based on the subscription that they pay for. Both of mine are the professional versions. It's just that I've had mine for so long that it doesn't have a lot of the other options. I would actually have to close it down and reopen it to get some of the additional options. Luckily, they're not options that I need. So add your branding. So put in your logos and your colors so it matches your branding when somebody purchases something through the shopping cart. Create templates. Broadcast templates, autoresponder, AR means autoresponder templates. And just so we're clear on what the difference is between a broadcast and an autoresponder, is a broadcast is a message that you send out, like you schedule to send out on a specific date or time. So similar to what you would send from, Outlook, but you can schedule it to go out at a specific date and time. An autoresponder, excuse me, I'm trying not to sneeze. An autoresponder is something that's triggered by an action. So somebody signs up for something, somebody purchases something, and that's what an autoresponder does. So it's not something that's scheduled at a specific date or time. It's due to an action that happens. Set up a web form. So a web form allows people to, sign up for something free or opt in for something. That would be a web form. Normally you enter your name and your email address and you click on a button. Okay. And then I will set up, 5 autoresponders, 5 products, 5 broadcasts, and 5 coupons. So coupon codes allow you to type in a coupon code that you can give to specific, audiences to save some additional money on certain things. So this is a basic package. And the difference really between the two packages is that this one, I have additional items. So instead of 5 autoresponders, products, broadcasts, and coupons, I'm doing 10. So this one just has more items in it. Otherwise, it's the same. And then the professional package, I have additional things like I'm setting up affiliate management in the storefront. I'm also going to do 2 web forms versus 1, and I'm also going to do additional autoresponders, products, broadcasts, and coupons. So these are just the ones that I did. Now you could certainly make these your own based on the needs that you see. And if you're not quite ready to do, the full-blown package, in other words, from soup to nuts, this is again something that you can work up to once you get better acquainted with One Shopping Cart. Always good to have those a la carte items, right? So those one-off items that in case they want more than 15 products or 15 broadcasts, you could charge individually for one. So you could say for each new product, it's $10. For each new broadcast, it's $10. For autoresponders, it's $15. For coupons, it's $5. For categories or digital items or web forms. And so you could basically put a price, and it really does depend on how long it takes you to get it done. A coupon's like, maybe a 5-minute job. It's very simple. Autoresponder is going to take a little longer depending on the number of messages that they want. Broadcast versus a product versus a digital item or a web form. So the cost of your a la carte items really comes back to how long it takes you to get these done. Average prices for shopping cart. This is setup, okay? Setup. Shopping cart, just kind of a starter from $500 to $700. This is an average price, okay? So this is kind of a ballpark to kind of give you an idea of what you could charge for yours. Professional, $750 to $1,200. Again, depends on what you're offering. If you're offering everything that one shopping cart does, you can charge a lot more because there's so much complexity to it, right? And then the a la carte item. So let's say somebody buys the starter package and then wants to include the affiliate, because the affiliate does have a lot of hoops you got to jump through. And the number between 350 and 550 is the number of affiliates that you have to set up, or the number of affiliate programs you need to set up. Same thing with storefront. Same thing with autoresponders. I said 20 to 40, products 10 to 20. Autoresponders, if it's just a simple autoresponder with like one message, $20. If it's an autoresponder with 5 messages, it's $40. It's all in relations to how long it takes you to get it done, but you're not charging for time. Again, you're charging for that expertise. So right now, this is what we're going to ask ourselves right now, because remember I told you we're going to come back and revisit that. So maybe you've never touched one shopping cart. That's okay. Got to start somewhere, right? Maybe you've had a little exposure to it. But kind of think of where your shopping cart skills are today, and then we're going to revisit this in the last class, and you can ask yourself this same question again. Where are you today? Hopefully you'll be a lot further along than you are right now. And what are you comfortable doing? You got to get comfortable doing things like broadcasts and autoresponders and adding products. Those are the things that people need on a consistent basis. So if you were to ask me, well, what should I really concentrate on learning in this course? I would say the things that are used most often: products, broadcast, autoresponders. Those are like the big ones, right? And you could easily build a package around and sell that as a management package. Do you know how long it takes? Now, this is a question people ask me all the time. Well, how long does it take? Well, it depends on how long it takes you to do it, or whoever's doing the work. A lot of people will package one shopping cart and then sell it as a service, and maybe they subcontract it, which is perfectly fine. But you need to know whoever's doing the work, how long it takes them to get it done, because we all work at different speeds, right? What may take me 30 minutes may only take you 10. It's based on how you work and your expertise. So you need to know how long it takes whoever's doing the work. So when you ask somebody, well, how long is it going to take me? As a project manager, I'm not going to tell you that because I don't know how long it takes you. You have to figure that out for yourself, okay? So that's one of the things I recommend you doing as well. As you go through this course, you should have a task management system. If you don't, I hope you get one before the end of this course, but you could time yourself to see how long it takes you to add a product or send out a broadcast or any of that kind of stuff, right? And then you'll have an idea of how long it takes you. Obviously, the more you do it, the better you get, but you need a rough estimate. So start small. You could do a basic or monthly package. I would say start monthly if you're not really familiar with one shopping cart, and then you can build upon that. As your skills increase, you can increase your packages and your prices. But this is a great place to start, right? So we're going to revisit this when we've finished with this program, and hopefully you'll have some clearer pictures of what it is you're going to be doing. So tips on packaging, okay? And when it comes to packaging, I would recommend, if you're going to put your packages on your website, that you actually put the details of what you're delivering and for how much. So this is different than putting like your hourly rate, because I never put my hourly rate on my website, but I did put my package information on my website. So make sure you include details to let people know, hey, I have a planning session. We're going to go over all the bells and whistles, so I know exactly what you want, okay? Make sure you're clear on the number of products, autoresponders, broadcasts, that kind of stuff. Who provides the content? So if somebody's going to ask you to send out, a half a dozen broadcasts, who's writing that content? Where is that coming from? Maybe it's not your client. Maybe your client has a copywriter on staff, okay? Pricing is clear. Training, whether or not you provide training, up to you. And then how many changes are allowed? So once you set it up, how many changes can they make? Maybe they don't like the logo that you're using on the shopping cart. Maybe they don't like the colors. Maybe they want to do a couple of tweaks on the setup. So be clear on that. Be careful of the terms that you use when you're talking to people, because sometimes they don't understand what a payment gateway is. Basically, it's how you get paid. If you want to get paid, you have to have a gateway. And autoresponder. People may not understand what a lot of people confuse autoresponder and broadcast. But just so your clients are clear what the difference is between the two. Remember, an autoresponder is a triggered message. Something happens, they buy, they sign up. A broadcast is something that you would schedule to go at a specific date or time. Responsibilities, if you're working with a team, your client's working with a team, just clear on who's delivering what and when. Always, 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 before you do the work, have a signed contract and make sure that you have your invoice that's paid, right? Clear on your prices and clear on your deadlines. So usually everybody has a deadline as to when something needs to be done. This is why it's important that you know how long it takes you to do the work, because you're the one doing the work, so you need to understand how long it's going to take you to get it done. Okay, and so that was setup. Okay, so if you're thinking, yeah, you know what, I would really like to do the setup, and it's actually fun work. I loved it. And I did it, I did at least one a month. Sometimes I did more, but it's a great way to, make $1,000, and I don't have to track my time, which I was not a big fan of that. You can also do custom packages, which this is where people come to you and say, you know what, my shopping cart's a mess. I need somebody to help me fix it because I have too many autoresponders, or I'm not using tags appropriately, or, One Shopping has rolled out these new features. I'm not sure how to use them. And this is something that you can definitely do. This is something that I did as well, because there are a lot of people who had One Shopping Cart for years but aren't using it correctly, or they set it up themselves without really knowing what they were doing. So this could be something that you could come in and help them clean up, if you will. So this is what I call a custom package, okay? And with this, you can include the package details, again, the a la carte items, and the fixed prices. Now, when you're doing any kind of customization like I'm talking through here, it really does help for you to understand what it is you have to go in and clean up, right? So it really needs to be rather clear. So include package details, a la carte, and fixed prices. So let me give you an example. So I used to do this quite often for One Shopping Cart. I also used to do it for Infusionsoft. Amazing how some clients just want to set it up themselves, which I understand, right? Maybe money's tight, they just need to start using it. But then there comes a time when it doesn't work for them anymore. They need someone to kind of come in and help clean it up a little bit. So when it comes to troubleshooting somebody's implementation of any software, you need to have what's called an audit. How do you know what's broken? You have to talk to the client or dive into their program to figure out what is broken. So this is called the audit package. So what I would do is say, okay, I'll give you an hour of my time and we'll talk on the phone. You can tell me, okay, Cindy, what's the problem with One Shopping Cart? What isn't working? What don't you like? What can I do to help you? And so that hour will help me figure out what I need. Then I'm going to dive in and actually look at her setup of One Shopping Cart. So that's audit time. So that means I go in and look. Now I have quantified this by time, which means I give them up to 3 hours. That doesn't mean I spend 3 hours, but they get 3 hours of my time to audit the problem. They also get an hour of my time to talk through what the problem is. Then what I'll do is I'll go in and create what I see as a current configuration, right? I'll also give them an audit results. So the results of the audit that I did, what the problem is and how I see it can be fixed and any action items. So you need to realize there's two things here. The audit is actually going in and figuring out what the problem is. Then you actually have a separate project, which is to fix it. So sometimes people would buy an audit package from me, but it was, wasn't in their budget right now to fix the problem, because I'm not fixing it. I'm just auditing. I'm just making sure that I understand what the problem is and telling them a solution and how long it takes for me to fix it. So this obviously is a higher rate because it's a higher expertise. You have to have a solid understanding of how One Shopping Cart works and all the pieces that go together. You have to build in the number of hours for the review and audit. I said, 3 hours. That is also the time for the documents. So the audit time includes me looking at their system, figuring out what the problem is, coming up with alternatives on how to fix it, as well as making any documentation or action items that I would have. So this one's great for solid knowledge and understanding. You can create your package based on customer needs, and you have to quantify time and or items delivered. Now for me, I quantified time. I said you're going to get an hour of my time to talk through it, and then you're going to get an additional 3 hours for me to go in and have a look at what the issue is, and then give you a document that says here's how to fix it. Okay. So remember, when it comes to auditing, there's two things. One is auditing. The second one is actually coming back and saying, okay, here's the proposal, if you will, that says here's what I propose and here's how much it's going to cost, and this is when I can get it done. And what that allows them to see is kind of budget and say, well, I can't do it right now, but I could do it in the future, right? So my point is that the audit package isn't to discover the issue and fix it. It's only to discover the issue and tell them how you can fix it. So there's really 2 projects in there, okay? All right, and so then managing is the other one. This is the one that I suggest that you start with, because this is something that people who use One Shopping Cart really need. They need a monthly email marketing package, or you could call it basic, monthly, or premium. My point is just you can name them whatever you want, as long as you're clear on what they're getting. So a monthly email marketing package could be something that sends out broadcasts. The broadcast could include their weekly e-zine, right? So that's important. You could also do things like, I'll do your e-zine, but I'll also send out additional broadcasts or create products or coupons or add autoresponders or add people or whatever it might be. So here's an example of an email package. Set up, test, and schedule up to 3 broadcasts per month. And I should actually make that 4 instead of 3. That doesn't make sense. And then I have a little asterisk that says client provides the content. I'm not writing your e-zine. You're going to give it to me, and I'm going to go ahead and upload it. Okay. Sorry, making myself a note here. Okay. Now remember, I told you if you were on the free webinar yesterday, you really do have to understand CSS and HTML in order to go in and tweak any of the templates that you're going to be using. And I will be sure that the information to access the free HTML and CSS classes are in the library. We're not quite there yet, but one of the things that's most important is that you have that solid understanding, because you will need to tweak any type of templates that you create, or somebody else creates them within One Shopping Cart. So here's a monthly pack. So that was just sending out broadcast, right? Create and update up to 5 products, including autoresponders, because products and autoresponders go together. Up to 3 web forms. I can review any order and sales reports, the bounce manager reports, which means people who have a bad email address that's bouncing, or it might be for spam. I can schedule up to 5 broadcasts, which includes e-zines, and I can also review sales and sign up reports, right? So this just kind of gives you an idea of different ways that you can build this. One of the most common ones, as I mentioned, is one that just does e-zines, sends out broadcast, right? So you could send out 4 e-zines a month for X number. I had a client that's all I did. I did that, and I did other things, but I was her shopping cart person, so I did all the shopping cart stuff. But I had another client that I sent out 4 e-zines a month for, and because the e-zines were all done in HTML, they're much more complex than sending them out in Aweber. So I charged her about $200 to $250 a month to send out her e-zines, because they were so complex. I had to do them in HTML and then pull them into One Shopping Cart. So my point is that it does take a little more to do the e-zines in One Shopping Cart than it does in Aweber or MailChimp. So you can charge a higher rate because it's a higher expertise, okay? So like I said, email package, I did $250. Monthly packages, you could do $350. And it really depends on how much you're giving them, right? If you're only going to give them one of everything, maybe not $350. And this is the thing with pricing. You can always start low and then raise them as you go, okay? You always have the right to raise your rates anytime you want to. You don't have to ask permission. It's your business, your choice. But the email package is one I would definitely recommend that you start with, because it is something that many people need. Okay, and it really does, again, depend on what is included in the expertise needed. But realize it does take more expertise to send out e-zines in One Shopping Cart than it does in Aweber or Constant Contact or even MailChimp. Excuse me. So again, just some overall tips for you. Solid knowledge. And I wouldn't say a solid knowledge, but you should at least really, be comfortable going in and doing sending out broadcasts and e-zines and that type of thing, as well as adding products and adding autoresponders, because those are the big ones that people need. You can create your own packages based on your client's needs. Okay. Each package should have a specific questionnaire. So as I mentioned at the beginning, each package will have a planning session, even the management ones, because I want to understand what they want me to do on a monthly basis, and we'll look at their templates and kind of get a gist of what it is they need. But then I would also have a questionnaire that goes with it. So again, every package of mine had a specific questionnaire based on what I was delivering, because that's what I use to make sure that I deliver what they want. And always quantify your time and or items delivered. So you don't want to just leave it open-ended. You want to make sure that people understand exactly what they're getting, because you're giving them an exact price. So overall package tips, again, solid knowledge. And what I mean by solid is, if you're going to offer packages, make sure that you're comfortable, at least have a good comfort level with the package that you're offering, right? And that way your comfort. So you may have to stretch a little out of your comfort zone, and that's okay. Include all your details, what's included, what's not. Each package should have its own contract, prices, and a list of what's being delivered. Okay. Quantified though. You get up to 5 of this, up to 6 of that, up to 4 of this, and that way people have a very clear understanding of what they're getting and for what price. And the other thing I had mentioned is, it's always good to kind of know how long it takes you to get this stuff done. The more you do it, the better you get, and so that will obviously improve over time. All right. So any questions on packaging? Hopefully, again, this was just to kind of get that creative juice flowing. You're welcome, Amber. Yeah, and it's recorded. So if you missed any, no worries. It's all recorded, so you'll be able to go through that again at your leisure. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so let's move on then, defining our processes. So ask yourself right now, how do prospects contact you? So if they want to do work with, Amber or Donna, how do they reach out to you? Do they reach out to you on social media? Do they send you an email? Do they contact you, Skype? How do they contact you? For me, the easiest and I think the most efficient way for prospects to contact you is by having a web form. Right? It's just a website form that allows you to ask the questions you need to know in order to, one, determine kind of what it is they need, and two, the deadline when they need it, because you need to look at what you currently have going on and see if you can meet that schedule. So when it comes to a web form, you can use something like Gravity Forms or something simple like a plugin called Contact Form 7 on your WordPress site. And with that form, you can basically ask the questions needed for that package. So for me, I had the list of packages on my website, and then underneath each package, I had a call to action that says, well, click here for more information. And when they clicked there, it took them to a web form for that package. So each package had their own website form, because I needed to ask specific questions. If they want maintenance is different than they want to do an audit, versus different than if they want to do a starter package. So that would allow me and them to pull the trigger immediately. They wouldn't have to wait to call me or send me an email. They could fill out the form. The form comes to me via email. I can review it, and then I can set up a time to contact them for more information. Okay. Including the prices on your website, I would recommend that you do if you're going to do packages, and also add on there exactly what they get for that package. And if you do custom packages, then you can say, I also do custom packages, click here to contact me, and we can set up a custom package for you. Right? Because not everybody's going to fit in the package that you have on your website. Some people may need something outside of that, and that's okay. Be open to say, okay, well, if you don't fit in one of these, let's talk, and I can certainly we can, create a custom package for you. So I would include a call to action under each of your packages to say, click here to contact me, or click here to fill out a form. Do you offer a free consultation call, which I highly recommend that you do when you're doing any type of packages, because you need to get a sense if the client is a good fit for you. It's not always a good idea to take everybody who has money, because not everybody's going to be a good fit for maybe the way you work. Maybe they don't have the traits that you desire in a client. And that's okay. That doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just means it's not a good fit. So with a consultation call, you can really understand if it's somebody that's going to work for you. And so that wraps back to the website form. They fill out the form, you get the information via email. You can look at that and say, okay, I like this person. Let me go ahead and talk to them and set up that free consultation call with them. Do you offer a planning call? I always recommend that if you're going to do any kind of packages, you should always have a planning call that goes with that so you can make sure you're delivering what you sold. And then how do your clients keep up to date on the progress? If they're buying a $1,000 product or package from you, there needs to be a way for you to communicate with them. There should be a way for them to access your information 24/7 without having to go to Amber and say, well, what are you doing? That's what that task management system is going to do. So if you're going to start working in any kind of packages, whether it's one shopping cart or WordPress or anything else, you're going to hear me say, you really do want to get a task management system because it's going to allow your clients to have access to that information. Do you offer training? So if you're going to set up one shopping cart soup to nuts, are you going to offer any training? You don't have to, but you need to be clear whether you do or not. And if you do, is that an additional cost or is it something that's included in the package? How is it delivered? Is it a checklist? Is it a document? Is it a webinar? How do clients contact you if there is an issue? So if after, Mary's gone in and set up one shopping cart, what happens if, next month there's an issue? What does that client do? And maybe what you're doing is you've set it up and then you're going to take over the maintenance. Perfectly fine. But just be clear with your clients. How do clients terminate a monthly package? So if they buy a package from you and says, I want you to do my monthly management package, and there's a contract in place for that, how do they cancel that if they don't want to do it every month anymore? Right? What's that policy look like? Do they send you an email saying, you know what, I'm done? I'm switching over to Infusionsoft, or I'm not going to do e-zines anymore, or whatever. How do they let you know that they're not going to keep going forward with that package? So you have to have processes in place, and you should have a process for prospects and clients both, right? Because you're going to treat prospects different than you treat clients. And for each of the packages that you offer, you should have a process for both prospects and clients. So my sample here is for my setup packages, my management, and my custom packages. I have an option for prospects and an option for clients. Now, when it comes to each of these packages, the process is the same, right? They're rinse and repeat. I have a web form for all my setup packages. I have a web form for all my management packages, and I have a web form for my custom package, right? And then I have a set of processes that people go through to once they become a client. I have them sign the contract. I make sure I get my invoice, and then I do the planning call, and I have them fill out the questionnaire. It's the same process for each of these. I'm all about simplicity. I'm all about rinse and repeat. But you should have a process for prospects and a process for clients. So on a side note, you need to understand that when you're working with implementing one shopping cart or doing what are called custom packages, those are projects because they differ. They're unique, and this is the definition of a project. Projects are all unique, and they all have a definite beginning and end. So they start and stop. In other words, you're building something, right? You're building something. You're building one shopping cart from the ground up, or you're implementing the affiliate piece, or you're implementing the storefront. Those are all projects. Okay, something that's repeating month to month is not. So that would be operations. So any kind of monthly management that you would do would be considered an operation. Okay, just so we're clear on that, in case you hear me say project versus operations. All right, so let's talk real quick about an example prospect process. And remember, you can rinse and repeat this for each of the packages that you create. So they fill out the form on my website. So that's my custom prospect form. They set up a free consultation call, or I set up a free consultation call once I've looked at their form. Okay, and you can have several questions on your form, or it can be very simple, but they should be tailored to the package that you're selling. So if you have 5 packages, you should have 5 prospect forms because they're all going to ask different questions depending on what it is that you're selling. Then set up your free consultation call, call it a discovery call, whatever you like. And this will really help you get to know if, one, this is someone you want to work with, right? Do they have the traits that you're looking for? Discuss their needs and timeline, right? Maybe their timeline is too aggressive and you know you can't meet that, so it's not a good fit that way. Answer questions and provide direction. You're the expert, right? Anytime you sell a package about something, you become the expert to clients. Because remember, a lot of times clients buy things without knowing any of the bells and whistles. Determine the best package for them. You know, maybe they have package A in mind, but after talking to them, you're thinking, you know what, you'd be better off with a custom package, right? And then any next step. So you always want to end any kind of prospect call with a next step, right? What's next? Should I follow up with you? You know, what do you want to do? Do you want to go ahead and move forward with this, so on and so forth? But you should always leave with some kind of an action. And I always left it so I would follow up, okay? And then follow up in your task management system. Put it on your calendar, and that way you remember to follow up with them. I get more clients because I was the only one who followed up. And I will continue to follow up. Some people follow up 2 or 3 times. Now, I continue to follow up until you tell me to go away. Because people get busy and they forget, right? Other priorities come up and they forget. So following up with them isn't a bad thing. It's your business. You need to make sure that you stay in front of them so when they're ready to implement, you're the one they're going to go with. So having that prospect call, okay? Don't think of it as a sales call. Just think of it as a conversation. You know, how can I help you, right? I want to know more about what Phoebe needs. You know, Phoebe, explain to me how I can help you with, you know, your one shopping cart needs. And just let the conversation flow. Obviously take notes, listen to what they say, but, you know, that will kind of help you understand what it is they need and how they expect to use it. You can create a simple questionnaire for each package you offer, right? That's what I do for my website form, right? The website form are my little questions around my different packages. You can also take time to explain the process and how you work. Some people like to know you're organized and what your details are. Others don't care. But for me, I would always explain, I'll use a task management system to kind of keep track of how things are flowing. You have access to your project. You can get that information 24/7. You don't have to wait for me. You know, I prefer to communicate through the task management system. I prefer that you add your login information, right, to one shopping cart, or you create me a username and log me in there. Or if I'm going to be getting into WordPress or Dropbox, you know, put your login information in my task management system, and you can pull status reports directly out of my task management system instead of me having to send them to you. So I basically go through that little process. And once again, I always end that call with a next step. I'm going to follow up with you in 5 days, right? See where you're at. Because maybe they're not ready to pull the trigger yet. Maybe they're talking to several different people. Remember, on this call too, you want to understand if they're a good fit for you, right? Because that's the beauty of having your own business. Your business, your choice. You can always say no if it doesn't fit, right? So let's say that they do decide that they're going to take on, or you're going to take them on as a client, okay? So now they've, you know, kind of signed on the dotted line. First of all, you need to make sure the timeline works for your schedule because you're probably supporting other clients and you need to make sure that you have time to fit in whatever they need. So determine your timeline and then send them the contract for the package, the invoice, and any other questionnaire or documents that you have. So for me, I would always send the contract via like EchoSign so they could sign it. And then I would send them an invoice. And then I would send them a questionnaire via email that said, you know, welcome, please fill this out as much as possible. We'll set up a planning questionnaire or a planning meeting to go over this. And then I would set up the information in the task management system. So I'd create the project for the client, send them the information. You know, if you're using a Dropbox or any kind of cloud storage, invite the client to the project and then ask them to put their login details in there. So, you know, not something you want to send back and forth, but they could actually put their login details directly into your task management system or LastPass or PassPack or whatever you want to use to keep track of that because you are going to need login information as well. So once you have all those things, you have your contract and your invoice, and maybe sent them the questionnaire prior to your planning call, you know, let them know, hey, fill out what you can. A lot of times they'll look at that and go, oh my God, the planning questionnaire in One Shopping Cart is many pages long because there is so much to it. I just made you one big one. Instead of making several little ones, I made a really long one. And it has everything that you can think of in there. Now, you would send that to somebody that may get overwhelmed. You could also take that document and slice and dice it for the packages that you sell. But be clear that they don't need to fill it out if they don't understand it, because you're going to go through that on the call together. It's part of the planning call. You're going to kind of walk through and ask questions, do any explaining, making them understand how something is working or why you need this option. And once again, go through your process. How do you communicate? What do you do? Status reports? Can they access status reports? What task management system do you use? Do they have a project? How can they log in? All that kind of stuff. And then let's say that you're done. You built one shopping cart from the ground up. You did like the professional package. You've got everything working, everything's done, client's happy. You want to invoice. Now, some people invoice all up front. Some people do a 50-50. Some people invoice 50 at front and 50 at back. Your business, your choice. But if you've invoiced 50% at the beginning, obviously you need your second invoice to be paid. If you do any kind of training, you send them a checklist or a video, make sure that's taken care of, and then deliver any additional documentation. So if you did a configuration document or something like that, that would be something that you could send along as well. And then for the management or custom packages, right, as well as the closing process, you could also remove any tasks from your task management system if you had any existing tasks. And then send an email if they're a management client that's no longer doing the management with you anymore, they don't want to do the monthly program, send an email letting you know that you have removed everything from your system, giving them back anything that they need just to confirm that you've done what they've asked. Right? So just some tips again. Remember, you can do 50-50. You can do all up front for invoicing. Management clients. So you do the management for them every month. You send out their e-zines. You send out their broadcasts. Maybe you do some products or autoresponders. I still would send them a monthly status report. So even though I'm not tracking my time, I would still have a task that says I need to do this, this, and the other thing. So they can actually see the task report. So it's not really a time report. It's just the tasks that I've been doing for them with that program. And some clients want it, some clients don't. It's something you could certainly ask them, right? Some people like to stay on top of that kind of stuff. And I would always have a checklist of what you need to do for each client's, for each thing. So I would have a checklist for every package. And that checklist would be your checklist that you could use to say, okay, well, if I sell this package, these are the things I need to do. I'm all about checklist. Okay, so those are the processes that you need to have in place in order to make sure that you're delivering what it is that you sell. And you also have just that rinse and repeat. So you're productive, it's efficient. And obviously processes are living and breathing, which means you'll have to tweak them as needed through time and through repetition. You'll realize maybe some things don't work and some things need to improve. Excuse me. Any questions on processes before we jump into templates and tools? So hopefully this is just giving you some food for thought. Maybe you're a process person like me and already have all this stuff implemented. These are my processes. You do what works for you. I'm just giving you ideas and thoughts so you can take what I have and maybe, make it your own, or you could simply use what I've done, whatever works for you. Okay. So when it comes to templates, and I've given you templates, right? I have given you tons of templates. And as I mentioned, I'll probably be updating those. So if you download those now, great. You'll probably want to download them again at the end of the class because I'm sure that I'll make changes to them because I always do. But your templates, have a contract for each of your packages. I also call it a statement of work. You can use either one. So I have a sample for you in the library, but what I would recommend is we all come from different places. And since, we're international, make sure that you have an attorney review it for your location. The contract is from my business and I'm US based, so just so you know. Prospect questionnaire web form. Now you don't have to do a web form, you could just send them an email with a questionnaire. I like to have a web form because that way 24/7 they can get in there and answer the questions and get the process started without having to wait for me. Have a questionnaire and planning documents for all the different packages, the setup packages, the custom packages, the management packages. And remember, you don't have to do all of these packages. You could just do the management one, or maybe you just like to do the custom one, okay? And you can also have what's called a task management template. As I mentioned, there are things that you have to do for each and every package. And you could create a checklist like says, okay, I need to set up the project in Teamwork. I need to make sure that I send the contract through EchoSign. I need to make sure I invoice the client. And then I need to make sure that I have their login details. So basically you have like a little list of things you need in order to get started. You could make that into a task management template, which is just a list of tasks that you could rinse and repeat within your task management system. I use Teamwork, and it actually has templates that you can do that, which I love. But Teamwork's not the only one out there. There's Asana, Trello, Zoho, 17 Hats, and the list goes on and on. But the most important thing is to find one that works for you. If you fight with your task management system, it's not the right one. So you'll need to find a different one. And then cloud storage is another thing that I recommend. Dropbox, Google Drive, Box. There's tons of them. And most of the times you can connect your task management system directly to your cloud storage. So if you put something in Dropbox, it can also show up in your task management system. So nice and neat. Okay. Wow, we went through that faster than I thought. All right, so today was nothing more than just kind of getting food for thought when it came to working in one shopping cart and how you can package all that knowledge that you're going to gain over the next 8 weeks, put it into a package, talk about pricing, and we're going to revisit this at the end of the course too, to see maybe if anybody's come up with anything. But this is the kind of stuff that if you're willing to share, please do so in the Facebook group, because it really helps others see what you've done, maybe help spur them to move forward if they're stuck. Don't be shy. There is no wrong answers here. But what your homework is for this week is to draft a package and pricing. Pick one, right? Pick one. Maybe management's where you want to start. And you can use the example that I have in this slide deck and make it your own. Or maybe you want to do one for setup, or maybe you want to do customer, maybe you want to do one for all three. But my point would be just to pick one to start with. And this isn't something I'm asking you to slap up on your website today. This is just something that you're going to refer to as we go through the program. And then put in some processes for prospects and clients for whatever package that you're going to draft. So if you're going to draft a management package, then draft the processes for how you deal with prospects and how you deal with clients once that has been sold. And so this is just kind of a something that will help you when we're done with the boot camp, that you will have something that you can almost immediately implement and start selling as a service. So you can start reaping the benefits of the new expertise that you have. Okay, so I don't need to see these, but if you'd like me to look at them, I am certainly happy to give you any insight. You can either send them to me directly or you can post them in Facebook, whatever works for you. So quick review, we looked at different ways to structure your packages. So just different ways that you can slice and dice the expertise that you're going to gain from this boot camp. The processes that you should have for any packages that you create, you should always have one client and one prospect process for each. And then templates and tools that you can use. And I always have one contract for each package. Now you could have one contract and change it out, but my problem was I always forget to change like a price or something, and that document is what you use to deliver the package. So you want to make sure that it's right. So what questions can I answer for you? Questions or comments are always welcome. Did you find this informational, of value? Did it help you start kind of thinking of how you're going to use the expertise that you're getting? Definitely. Well, thank you, Amber. I'm glad. Yes, thank you, Nancy. And Phoebe, I see you've got your hand raised there. Did you have a question? If you do, just feel free to type it there in that little questions panel in the bottom. Now, as I mentioned, I want to let you know about this video usually comes out within 24 hours. So look for an email from us when it's ready. And remember, you'll go to the library to grab all that. Mary, yes, I like the idea of starting with management. Great. You're welcome. Cindy, if I have a client that is modifying my one shopping cart contract, would you create a new contract or would you do an addendum to the contract? It depends on what they're modifying. If it's you're going from like maybe a simple management package to a full-blown implementation, I would do a different one. I would have a new one. But if it's a simple like one-off tweak, then I would do an addendum. But if it's a complete change, I would do a new contract. Does that make sense? Phoebe, can these templates be edited? Yes, they're Word documents. So you can make them your own. Good. Any other questions? Cindy, not a complete change, just clarifying for both of us. So I should do an addendum. This is my scope creep. Yes, I would just do an addendum. As long as if it's just a tweak, then I would do an addendum to make sure that it's, obviously if your timeline's changed, your prices changed, all of that stuff is in the addendum as well. So it's very clear. Don't leave any room for gray, if you will. So as I mentioned, I'm happy to look at anything that you have. You can send it to me, help@techhumanor.com, or you can post it in private Facebook group. I'm in Facebook all the time. But if you feel up to it, feel free to post in there because, as I said, other people can really benefit from you sharing. And the link to that Facebook group is in the library. So what you'll need to do is click on the link and then we'll add you to that group. It is a closed group, which means nobody else can see what goes on in there. So feel free to share, vent, ask questions. Phoebe, do we need to have a lawyer go over the contracts beforehand? Yes, I highly recommend that you do. Because we're all in different, even if you're United States and the US, different states and cities are different. So I highly recommend that you do. And if you're in the US and don't have an attorney that, I use Legal Shield, which is, one of those monthly membership programs that you have access to attorneys. I love Legal Shield. I use it for all kinds of stuff. So just an option. I think it's, I think it's in some of the provinces is Canada, but I know it's basically in the US. So any other questions? Like I said, I appreciate you guys all being here today. Yeah, and I think Phoebe, it has to do with the province that you're in, but you could Google Legal Shield because I have some Canadian clients and I know some of them have it and some of them don't, but that would be an option for you as well if you don't have an attorney right now. Anybody else? Any questions? So we'll be back here next week. Next week, we're going to start diving directly into One Shopping Cart. So be ready for that. And as I mentioned, I will be sending out an email when this is ready. Usually takes about 24 hours, okay? Thank you, Phoebe. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And thank you, everybody, for spending time with me today. Thank you to those that are listening. And I look forward to jumping into One Shopping Cart with you next week. And I'll see you then. Bye.